Are there any questions or comments from the board? I have a couple of quick questions. I noticed that there were several findings that, we hope are just clerical errors in the NCAA in cybersecurity areas with a few of the schools. What's the process for resolving these issues so that we make sure that we understand the nature of it, that it's being followed up upon, and it just won't recur?
So those are external audit findings, Louisiana legislative auditors. So we will meet with the legislative auditors and try to have a resolution, the internal auditors with the external auditors and each institution to try to have some resolution.
Yeah, so we'll just follow up on that. And I wanted to check in about that kind of specifically because there were a few instances where, we were on the second or third recurrence of a couple of issues. And I just wanted to clarify that we could maybe set up a meeting between the legislative auditor's office and the school's office, to make sure that, we figure out what, if it's a philosophical difference or what sort of work could be done to make sure that this is the last of the recurrences of it.
Yeah, of course. That sounds great. We'll work on that.
Yeah, great. And we have talked about there being potentially a shared auditor because UNO is lacking their auditor right now. There was just a termination. And also at Nichols, there's an opening. So on that one, I just wanted to see, I feel like that needs to be a kind of a higher level person because they're going to be divided between two people. Divided between two campuses, sorry. And I just wanted to kind of put that bug in your ear and see how that process for filling those vacancies is going.
We had a meeting with UNO and Nichols last Friday to start the process, and we will discuss your concerns and we will hire somebody.
Okay, great. Yeah, we probably just set up a couple of Zooms or whatever, to kind of talk about a few of these things. But that's really it. And I don't think anybody else had any questions. So we don't have any other business at this time. I think the next committee is facilities planning.
All right. For facilities, that is you, Mr. Prasad, I believe. Just the items in that agenda. All right. My apologies for the earlier.
We have 7 items of facility planning office.
Thank you so much, Mr. Posada. Campuses are requesting approval of the following. Each of you I'm sorry, wrong script. Campuses requesting approval of the following, and for those campuses that have name requests, each president has submitted appropriate justification as required by our board rule. Item H1 from Louisiana Tech, they want to extend the existing facility lease with Caddo Parish School District for the Louisiana Tech University Shreveport Center pursuant to the authority vested in law. The board approved the original lease on April 9, 2019. Louisiana Tech and the Caddo Parish School District worked jointly in the delivery of education to district students and faculty. The Caddo District student population currently comprises the largest percentage of students entering Louisiana Tech as first-time students, as well as pursuing graduate education. Additionally, the district currently promotes partnerships with Louisiana Tech's College of Education and hosting residents for the year-long residency program and Caddo for a day shadowing opportunity. The new lease is from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, renewable for 4 additional one-year periods with mutual consent by both parties. The district will pay $24,000 each year to Louisiana Tech. They will pay for all utility and inspection expenses. Item H2 is also from Louisiana Tech, requesting to rename the University Communications Suite on the 12th floor of Wiley Tower, the Crockett Oak Smith University Communications Suite. And this naming will be as long as University Communications is out there. Nichols named the boardroom meeting room located at Bayou Region Incubator the Fact Design Boardroom. This naming will expire April 16th, 2029. Item H4, University of Louisiana at Lafayette, authorization to enter into an act of donation for the acquisition of several properties from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette Foundation. The university has agreed to acquire by donation vacant properties located at 108 Smith Street, 1716 Johnson Street, and 110 General Gardner Avenue from the foundation to benefit the university. The foundation property is adjacent to properties acquired and owned by the Board of Supervisors for the UL system. Upon approval by the board, the University of Louisiana Lafayette will proceed with the assistance of system staff, legal counsel, and other state agencies to move forward with this act of donation. Item H5, University of Louisiana Lafayette wishes to exchange a parcel of land that's owned by the university in exchange for property owned by Glenn C. Murphy and Cheryl Madonna Murphy. The university desires to acquire the Murphy property for the public purpose of expanding its campus, and Murphy desires to acquire the university property for better access to its business. Property locations are on Brook Avenue and West St. Mary Boulevard. Appraisals will be done on both properties, and the property exchange will be of equal value to both the university and Murphy, and an equalizing payment will be made if necessary. Item H6, University of Louisiana at Monroe request to proceed with the demolition of the Emily Williamson Child Development Center located on Cole Avenue. The building was completely destroyed through an electrical fire in October 2022, no longer safe for occupancy. The university is working through ORAM and private dollars to rebuild the center in the same location. Because it is a total loss, it is not cost effective to salvage any parts of the building. And finally, item H7 from University of Louisiana at Monroe, request to rename one of the ULM sports medicine training rooms to Dr. Thomas Field Jr. Sports Medicine Training Room. ULM Speech Language Pathology Clinic, the Carol Nichols Ray Speech Language Pathology Clinic. And finally, the ULM Audiology Clinic, the Faye O. Haddock Audiology Clinic. And these names are as long as the facility remains in use. And those are all the items to have, Mr. Basada.
Thank you, Mr. Janay. All the agenda items have been reviewed by the system staff and outside legal counsel and are recommended for approval. Of course, if any member has a question or wishes to discuss any of these items, please let me know. There being no questions, are there any questions or comments from the public? With no further clarifications being required, may I have a motion and a second for approval of items H1 to H7? Second by Mr. Romero. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next committee is finance.
Chair Romero, will you please take us through finance?
Thank you, Chairman. We have before us the 7 consent items for consideration finance committee. As Danny mentioned, Ashley McIntyre will provide a brief overview of the agenda items before us today. We wait for the amendment to come for action without any possible. Two, for that affiliated agent contract, subcontract, public or term business or the government, three, for active slide and provide like you can like that. Rest of the Item I2, University of Washington, Bridgewood, Louisiana nonprofit corporation. Bridgewood is a holder of the construction firm with 55 federal station. Bridgewood has no prior experience in construction and operating a radio station. Third party. Even though the broadcast station licensee several non-commercial broadcast station operated by what UNO non-commercial education radio station WWO broadcast HTG sub-channels for programs for amplified which with the license broadcast on subjects. UNO retains rights to fundraise for its WWL program. Operations on WCW be broadcast on WCW. UNO fundraising will be limited to 1% WCW fees on their operations of 37.6 hours. UNO agrees to reimburse this with a maximum of $36,300 covered. UNO staff estimated on the side of 2.5%.
Thank you. 2029. The agreement may be terminated for convenience with 30 days written notice. Items I3, I4, and I5 are University of Louisiana's request for approval of 3 separate leases for placement of cellular antennae on the roof of the UNO engineering building. The lessees are AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. The lessees will pay for all labor, supervision, supplies, and transportation costs to install the cellular antenna. The lessees will be responsible for maintenance and repairs of the facilities, including but not limited to receivers, transmitters, and antennae, and to the locations where the facilities would be placed. In addition, lessees will be responsible for all operating expenses of the facilities, including utilities. AT&T will make annual lease payments of $48,894 with annual increases of 3%. Verizon would pay $49,894 with annual increases of 2%. And T-Mobile will pay $47,518 with annual increases of 3%. The leases will commence upon signature and terminate on December 31, 2034. The leases can be renewed for additional two additional 10-year periods with agreement of the parties. Agreements may be terminated for convenience with 60 days written notice. I6, University of Louisiana's request for approval to establish LEQSF endowed professorships and endowed first-generation scholarships. The Louisiana Education Quality Support Fund provides for grants to be awarded upon receipt of private donations for the establishment of endowed professorships, first-generation scholarships, superior graduate scholarships, and endowed chairs. Management boards are required to authorize the establishment of the endowments prior to submission to board regents for matching funds. Grambling has submitted 10 endowed scholarships, and Nichols has submitted 1 endowed professorship to the board for establishment of the endowments.
Item I7 is the system's recommendation for campus housing and meal plan rates, auxiliary rates, energy surcharges, and non-governmental charges for the academic year 24-25. Annually, each institution has to submit their request for approval for these different rates and charges that are subject to board approval. These rates are generally subject to contractual arrangements with vendors that are adjusted for consumer price index increases. The housing, meal plan, and auxiliary requests are reasonable when reviewed against comparable CPI, with the exception of some requests that are related to renovated housing and new vendor agreements. Energy surcharge requests are supported by calculations submitted by the institutions, and they are all within the maximum allowed per policy. Other service charges have been supported by explanations of need and supporting documentation as necessary.
This completes the consent items, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you all. Consent items I1 through I7 have been reviewed by board staff and are recommended for approval. Of course, if any board member has a question or comment at this time, please feel free to do so. Are there any questions from board members? I have a question. Mr. Robinson.
Could we go back to item 2? Is that the cooperative endeavor agreement, is that the norm in the university environment?
For a radio station, relatively new. I don't think I've looked at an agreement similar to this.
So we haven't seen something like that come through over the last 5 or 10 years that we've negotiated that type of agreement.
We've seen a variety of cooperative endeavor agreements for a variety of purposes. They can vary a lot. This one in particular relates to a radio station, a partnership between a nonprofit and a university, which is common. It's not uncommon.
Okay. Dr. Clark?
I have a couple of different questions. Let me pick up on that one first on item number 2. I was just curious in the estimations for increased, listenership and potential for fundraising. Was that determined? Was that?
I think they based that on actual viewership and revenue generated through that viewer or listening-ship. And this would expand by 25%. So they estimated the increase would be about $50,000 at least, maximum.
I guess my question was, how did they determine that there would be an increase of 25% listenership as a result of this cooperative endeavor agreement?
I would have to ask someone from UNO to really explain
Yeah.
that.
Dr. Johnson, maybe here. Can you maybe share some insight on that? If y'all don't mind coming up to, why don't y'all come up to the mic?
But
Can
from
phone a
reading
friend
the-
today.
From reading the agreement, it was based on a viewership increase, comparable increase when compared to what exists today. And I think from what I read in the agreement, that's how it was based, but that's.
It just seemed like a healthy increase. I mean, to have a 25% bump, that's good. I mean, I was just curious as how we derived at that or how we understood that.
In addition, I think this was like for the North Shore. And then they looked at the population of the North Shore. I think they considered
Expanding
that.
the reach.
That was my understanding as well. I confess a radio station is a bit new to me. We hold the license to WWNO and the station manager has been negotiating this agreement. But I believe that the percent was estimated based on the increased, especially the North Shore population that would be able to listen to the classical music station.
Good. No further questions on item number 2, but I did have a couple other questions. One on item number 1, the foundation agreement. UL Lafayette is redoing it. It caused me to question or to wonder, our other campuses and institutions, do we have a template of sorts of items that foundations and institutions are to adhere to? And do we do a review of those from a staff level to see how those are operating or not operating? It seemed like there were a number of adjustments that UL is making with theirs, and should we be doing similar things at other campuses, or is that a unique circumstance?
Maybe Ms. Clark, Dr. Sawa, if y'all can add some insight on this.
But just while we're waiting, just to answer your question, Dr. Clark. Originally, when institutions create their affiliation agreements, they are based on a template. And from time to time, they might amend those affiliation agreements based on different reasons, as ULL is now. We can certainly go back to each one to make sure that they're consistent. We can look at these 3 amendments and compare to the other schools and see maybe there's a need there too.
Dr. Sawa?
That might be something.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, let me maybe provide a little clarification on the amendments. Essentially we also have another affiliated group, the Raging Cajun Facilities Incorporated. They do a lot of construction projects for us through self-generated funds and that sort of thing. This item was noticed by members of the larger foundation because we were asking them to use money that we raised to pay RCAF or RCFI for a construction project. And they noticed in the agreement that they weren't specifically authorized to do that. And so they wanted an addition in here so that they could move money from a larger foundation to the property foundation and not have to take the next step on the university and another transfer. It really was just a matter of them being overly cautious about managing money properly.
So simply aligning or enabling
Right.
this next
In
step
other words, they can
transaction to
they
complete.
can treat education facilities as a university entity for purposes of transferring funds. They probably could anyhow. They were just being cautious to make sure that the agreement reflected that.
My thinking is that as we continue as a post-secondary education system or entity, reliance upon foundation, upon donors, upon facility corporations and others to provide resources that are necessary. I think that we owe it to ourselves to be sure that we are operating in a legal manner, but also in the most efficient manner and or beneficiary manner to the institution so that, we can access funds as we need them or, encourage foundations to work closely together. I don't know whether this has any, if this is germane to this particular circumstance, but it just caused me to think that foundations are playing an increasingly important part of our conversations as we take a look at distressed campuses, as we take a look at just funding in general. So I think it might just serve as a good heads up that we need to take a look at all of them.
Thank you, Dr. Salva.
And then I have one other question. Having to do just the question I typically ask relative to endowed scholarships and professorships. It's always impressive when we see this list, and I commend Grambling in particular for being able to identify that many donors. But I always wonder in the back of my mind, how many are we actually able to fund and how many do we have in the queue, both in terms of scholarships and or professorships system wide? And it doesn't have to be answered today, but if we could get a report on that the next time, that would be very helpful.
I have the information.
Oh, you do? Good.
Yes, sir. For unmatched professorships, there were 2 endowed professorships, 9 superior graduate scholarships, and 3 endowed chairs that have been submitted by campuses but have not yet been matched. Just to compare those numbers to what has been matched. Regents has matched 962 professorships, 179 general first generation scholarships, 54 graduate scholarships, and 70 endowed chairs.
And that's a time frame of how long for that?
It was as of fiscal year 23. That's the latest.
Beginning, from the
Goes way all the way to.
that goes all the way through. So how many then are unfunded again?
As of fiscal year 23, 2 endowed professorships, 9 superior graduate scholarships, and 3 endowed chairs.
Okay, and so then these that we approve today or that we are moving forward today, they go into the queue or those?
Yes,
will be
sir. Yes, sir.
And
But they're matched fairly
fairly
time.
good. Okay, it's better than I expected to hear, but thank you.
Good program.
Thank you, Mr. Mish. Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Hearing none, may I have a motion and a second?
So move Stevens.
Moved by
Our
Mr.
second.
Masada, second by Mr. Stevens. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have no other business before the committee. Next committee is personnel.
All right, and Chair Peterson is not with us this morning. I believe he will be here for the special meeting this afternoon. So in his absence, Supervisor Donahoe, I believe you have been volunteered or have volunteered to lead us forward.
On the list, so. We have 3 items on the personnel committee this morning. And they're presented on the consent agenda. Ms. Keisha Neal will provide an overview of each item.
Thank you, Mrs. Donahoe. Good morning, Chair Clark, President Gallo, and board members. Northwestern State University requests for approval to continue the appointment of Dr. Neeru Deep as interim dean of the College of Education and Human Development effective July 1st, 2024, J1. Item J2, University of Louisiana at Monroe's request for approval to appoint Dr. Wendy Bales as Dean of the College of Health Sciences effective April 1st, 2024. J3, University of New Orleans request for approval to appoint Dr. Randall Langston as Vice President for Enrollment Management effective May 8th, 2024. And Mrs. Donahoe, that concludes the items to be considered today.
Thank you very much. These items have been reviewed by staff and are recommended for approval. Of course, if any member has a question or any member of the public has a question or comment, please let me know. Is there anyone here that needs to be introduced?
Not today.
Not today. Excuse me. If there are no other discussions, can I have a motion to approve?
Move approval.
It's been moved by Ms. Letterman and second by Mr. Robinson. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you very much. I believe that does it for committee reports. So at this time, President Gallo, would you please present your report to us?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Board members were emailed personnel actions and summer school pay plans for your review. Staff has reviewed all of these requests and recommend approval. We need a motion and a second, Mr. Chairman.
Certainly. Do we have such a motion?
So moved.
So move Supervisor Salter. Second, Supervisor Willis. All those in favor of approving these personnel actions and summer school pay plans? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Last week, we interviewed semifinalists for the presidency at McNeese. After careful deliberation, the search committee has put forward Dr. Andy Benoit and Dr. Wade Roos for consideration by the board. Today, you will be conducting the interviews and the finalists and ultimately choosing McNeese's next president. That will occur at 1 o'clock, I believe it is. I think it would be appropriate. This may very well be his, it will be his last meeting before the decision is made for his successor. I think it would be appropriate, certainly, to commend Dr. Darrell Burkell for his incredible work. Of course, when you think about over the last 7+ years, multiple hurricanes, floods, freezes, in addition to the normal course of running an institution of higher education. Certainly I want to commend and thank Dr. Burkell for his service through some incredibly difficult times. And of course, I believe he's excited and looking forward to getting back to the classroom and sharing his vast knowledge of the field of accounting with students there at McNeese. So, Darrell, I don't know if you have any comments you'd like to make. All right. Well, and I don't know if any board members.
I certainly would. It's always instructive when we have the opportunity to engage with community members as a part of a search process. In this particular circumstance, over the last couple of months, we've met with, oh goodness, we had close to 15 community members on the team that have resulted in the name of the 2 finalists. But it's during those circumstances, the opportunities, the executive sessions, the back and forth, the talking, the camaraderie, that you hear things about the existing circumstance. And Dr. Burkell, I cannot tell you how many times we heard effusive compliments, continued thanks to you, your leadership, to the team that you put together. Dr. Gallo certainly referenced the difficult times, and I cannot think of anybody else who could have done what you did under the circumstances. So, from my standpoint, what I observed, but I think more importantly, what your community observed stands in good stead. So thank you so much for that.
Dr. Burkella, I certainly want to tell you, it's been a very humbling experience to watch you do some really productive things at McNeese, and know that, I go back to the time when I had the privilege of being part of the selection that ultimately seated you at McNeese as a president. I watched you do some tremendous things there. I think we were blessed to have you there, and you came at a time unbeknown to all of us that brought quite a bit of challenges. And I think your strengths, your skills, your competence, your drive, your determination guided us through some really difficult times for McNeese. And I recall meeting with you shortly after Hurricanes Laura and Delta hit, and how you had just a driven plan and were focused, and you brought all those capabilities to the front and watched you just bring them through a recovery process. And I think that, McNeese is in a great place as you hand off the leadership. Things will evolve from there, but I can't thank you enough for everything you did to put such a personal commitment towards bringing McNeese forward during your time of leadership. And can't think of a better person in such a trying time to have been at the helm. So thank you very much for everything you've done for our McNeese State and for our system. And Dr. Clark, if I might add, had a conversation with your student member president who transitioned to the back seat, I guess today, effective today. And he also sent his greatest sentiments for the leadership you provided in his time as a student leader. He said he couldn't have asked for a better leader at the system president, at the university president's level. Sam was very appreciative of your leadership.
All right. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have attending his first full board meeting is President Lamel from Graham State University. And of course, if the list of endowments and scholarships is any indication of his tenure, I think you're off to a great start, and certainly better than your predecessor. So certainly want to welcome President Lamel, and we're also having in attendance Chief Demery, who's the University Police Chief. And Chief, I certainly want to thank you for your incredible leadership in keeping our campus and our students safe. So thank you for being here as well. I'd also like to touch on, I attended the academic summit that was recently held at Louisiana Tech. Had the pleasure of attending and seeing students highlighting work in research in the arts. I mean, it was an incredible display of talent and intellect. So when you think about having students who are doing meaningful research in cancer research alongside their faculty members. They're also doing a lot of work. Dr. Berry, there were students from ULM who did research involving atmospheric science and identifying weather risk. I mean, this is real research that our students are doing alongside their faculty members. And so I think we sometimes, take for granted as we have these ongoing events. I really want to encourage everyone within the sound of my voice to be a part of the academic summit that's held every year, and just to see the musical talent and some of the art that our students put forth. It was certainly a sight to see, and certainly I want to commend Dr. Erica Calais for her work in helping to coordinate that. I'm constantly amazed at the system staff for all of the things that you all continue to do, and nobody's doing just one job. Everybody's got multiple. So in between trying to run a presidential search, Dr. Calais found time to also help to coordinate that the academic summit. So I want to thank you, and for everyone who was involved in making the academic summit a success. course, we're in the midst of a legislative session right now. Just want to hit a couple of the bills that we are following with great interest. House Bill 862 by Representative Hughes, which would provide the opportunity for post-secondary management boards to have some autonomy with tuition and fees. That bill did clear the House on yesterday, and so it's now heading to the Senate. There are also one other bill that certainly we're very interested in and following very closely, and that is the deferred maintenance bill, House Bill 940 by Representative Turner. This would provide an opportunity for all of higher ed to address what is currently approaching a $2 billion backlog in deferred maintenance projects that we have all across higher ed. For the University of Louisiana system alone, it's above $500 million. So to be able to address this in a similar template that the community and technical college system did a few years back to build campuses, this would give us an opportunity to bond this work out and accelerate the pace at which we could address some of these deferred maintenance issues. There was also another bill by Representative Brass. I don't see the number that would raise the threshold for projects, being able to move projects forward. Currently, the threshold is at 500,000, which requires our schools to go to whether it's architectural selection or the engineering selection boards to get approval to move forward on contracts. This would double that threshold to $1 million. Again, it would give our campuses the opportunity to get these projects done more quickly. There are other bills that are being tracked, and I certainly want to commend Rich Vath from our team, who's really jumped in with both feet when I asked him to help me track the bills and keep up with everything going on. Rich has done an incredible job of working with not only the Regent staff, but with others as well who have assisting us in monitoring these bills. So just a couple of others I'll mention. There's Senate Bill 486 by Senator Seabaugh that deals with diversity, equity, inclusion. There are a number of conversations that are continuing to occur with Senator Seabaugh. It did not come up in the Senate and Governmental Affairs Committee or Senate Education Committee, I'm sorry, yesterday. So we continue to monitor that one. Two others I will just mention. Senate Bill 462 passed out of Senate and Governmental yesterday by Senator Hodges, which would give the governor the authority to select and appoint the chair and other officers of boards and commissions. Of course, there are literally hundreds of boards and commissions that the governor has appointments on, and that exists. So that, and the governor did personally testify on that bill yesterday, and it did pass out of the Senate and Governmental Affairs Committee, and it's headed to the Senate floor. The final one, House Bill 800 by Representative Beaulieu, that would call a constitutional convention. That bill is, I believe, headed to the House floor. There's still a lot of discussions on the Senate side, so that's where that one resides at this point. All right, moving on. 2 weeks ago, the system held a reception for the Universities of Louisiana Maritime Academy. Of course, this system embarked on an ambitious journey to establish the ULMA, and we're operating it in a collaborative model with Nicholls State hosting the 4-year degree program that will result in maritime federal designation. In addition, there are a number of different pathways and programs that will be affiliated with this Maritime Academy. UNO will have a significant role to play in this, as well as our other UL system schools as well. And we've got a number of strategic partners who have joined us in this journey. And so we had an opportunity to highlight the accomplishments thus far in the development of the Maritime Academy and look forward to moving that work ahead. Finally, it is graduation time again, and board members, you should have received from Carol dates and times for graduations across our system. Certainly want to encourage all of you to attend at least one ceremony. You can certainly pick more and be a part of these celebrations of our students graduating. Tomorrow also is the investiture of President Jim Henderson at Louisiana Tech. And so I know many of us will be there tomorrow to celebrate the investiture of President Henderson. Chairman Clark, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Busy couple of months for you.
Busy.
Very good. I do have a chair report to provide today. The first item that I have listed on my notes is actually one that I consider to be very bittersweet. It's time for me to recognize and to announce that we are nearing the end of our student members' term of office. And so Bailey Willis has been just an absolutely an exceptional member of our team. She has been a full member of our team. She has participated in more events, I must say, than most supervisors. I'm not casting aspersions, but I am just recognizing the fact that the student member has stepped up time and time again, has participated in search committee after search committee, has been at celebratory events, has spoken out and with supervisors, just an absolutely extraordinary leader. It always makes me feel good to know that our future is in the hands of persons like you, Bailey, and I just can't thank you enough for the leadership that you provided, not only here as our board, but certainly when we talk to Northwestern State University constituents, they, speak so highly of what you have brought to that campus. Your future is so extraordinarily bright. I hope to be able to watch it from where I sit in a rocking chair someday and just, seeing it accelerate. You're going to be doing tremendous things for a whole lot of people. So we certainly appreciate it. And I believe that we do have something to recognize you with or to provide to you. And I think if she come down to the front, is that the plan? Okay. So on behalf of the entire board, I want to present you with this medal. It's actually one of a whole lot. I created this for all of them. Just because I stepped off of the mic doesn't mean I'm finished here. A couple of other things to note. First of all, it has been a busy month for a lot of folks. A lot of members have participated in significant events and activities. We had the privilege I had the privilege of sitting in a professional development session that was hosted up outside of Alexandria. I want to, thank a number of folks who helped pull that off. Certainly the staff at the system office in many ways, both in terms of contributing to the content that we receive, but also in the planning of it. It's always good to get back to the air park and to see what's happening there. I think more importantly, the two central items that we discussed having to do with finance and capital outlay budgeting process, we brought in folks from the region staff to help educate us. And I think that that's always a positive thing to do, to listen and to learn and to understand exactly what is happening and how it's happening, how we can influence or attempt to influence as board members moving forward. So I want to again thank all who were able to participate. We will be doing follow-ups certainly with that, and certainly from that conversation, we've had a number of sidebar conversations that continue to I guess, accelerate some conversations at the campus level that we want to be sure that we get our arms around it when it comes to finance in particular. So that was all favorable. And I am being correctly admonished by the individual on my right, that as I sat down and began to pontificate and listen to my words, I was negligent in not allowing our student member to provide some remarks to us. And so it is with a great chagrin and embarrassment that I am going to belatedly turn the mic back over to our student member. So Bailey.
I was thinking it.
I'm so sorry.
Just thank you all so much for this journey that you all have been on with me. This has been so, I don't know the right words for it, but it's just been an amazing time. It's cool to see how the inner workings of how all these institutions come together. And so I realize how intricate the process is and how many people it takes to go to such processes and all these presidential searches that I've been on. It's cool to see how unique each of our universities are different. I just really am so happy that I've been able to be a part of this board, and it's a memory that I'm going to cherish with me forever. To the board members, thank you so much for always being there for me and just making sure that I was cool as a student board member, but also respecting my opinion and valuing my time here. I thank y'all for just recognizing how important students are. So that just means a lot for me. And I just want to say thank you all again. And it's been an amazing journey.
Thank you, Bailey. And again, I do apologize. In terms of other activities that the board has participated in, President Gallo referenced the Maritime Academy reception. Again, thanks to all who were able to participate and attend. What an exciting initiative. And again, realizing that we are just on the threshold of stepping off into it, but a lot to come on that front. We had the occasion to obviously meet, referenced a few times about the McNeese search. We met here in Baton Rouge as a committee to select semifinalists, spent 2 days in Lake Charles, and thanks to McNeese and its staff for hosting an exceptional opportunity to engage with semifinalist candidates. Again, to staff, to Erica in particular, Janine, others who were there. Caitlin, I don't see, but certainly played an important part of the process. We did a little bit differently, and I think it worked out really well in terms of having our stakeholder conversations on the first day and the interviews on the second. So again, thanks for those who made that happen. Other items that I want to note, I did have a chance to get to Nichols, and Dr. Bro and Dr. Clune were very gracious, hosted myself and Supervisor Russell. We were invited to take a tour of the Bayou Region Incubator. You saw on today's agenda that one of the rooms was we approved the naming of one of the rooms. If you haven't had a chance to visit at some point in time, I encourage you to do so. Extraordinary opportunity for, again, engagement with regional economic development, business, and the campus. The building is run and by the university, but they lease to a number of different entities. It's just getting off the ground and exceptional opportunity. So again, thank you for that activity. Finally, I do, well, there's two more things, but the first one is one that I am very pleased to recognize. We talk about student success and we talk about the importance of completion and about pursuing, subsequent degrees and pathways and how do we get to where we want to get. Well, we happen to have one of our own very own supervisors who recently completed her work on a dissertation and was approved. Joe Leatherman, I'm assuming it's official at this particular point in time, has successfully defended her research that was entitled "A Non-Weight Centered Approach to Modifying Eating Attitudes in Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome," which I learned in listening to the discourse is PCOS. And it was fascinating. She shared with me the defense. Didn't realize that now it's streamed online. People from all over the world can listen in and observe and watch. Extraordinarily well done, and couldn't have been prouder to sat and watched you perform. For lack of a better term, you were extraordinary. And so I wanted to congratulate, acknowledge, and you are living what we are supposed to be helping and doing in terms of institutions. So congratulations to you. And if you'd like to say a few words, I'd love you to do so.
I want to thank all of my fellow board members. You guys have been so supportive of me from the very beginning, knowing what I was embarking upon, and have been very, kind to me as far as my schedule, being available and being here and sometimes being very late. But I appreciate that. And thank you very much for everybody for your support.
Supervisor Leatherman, your official degree title is?
I have a Doctor of Nursing Practice in Women's Health and Midwifery. The official ceremony is at Georgetown on the 17th of May. And I actually have invitations for all of you, but I'll give them to you later.
Well, fantastic. And in terms of your participation and you, quite frankly, have not missed much. And I know that there were times and occasions during this process, those who were on the grievance committee who were counting on certain numbers of people, and you came, kept your monitor with you because you were going to get called out. Sometimes these midwifery things don't happen on a set schedule. So it was impressive. And again, thank you for your service to the state of Louisiana and certainly to us. Finally, the last item on my report is to remind folks that our next regular meeting will be held June 13th here in Baton Rouge. I'm noting the date because it is earlier in the month than usual. It's not the 4th, it's the second Thursday. At the June meeting, we will be hearing the presentation from this year's class of MNLI. That's Management and Leadership Institute, which certainly, if you haven't had the occasion in the past to listen in to those presentations, they are always, again, exceptional. And I think a good insight, a good window into what is happening or being talked about and discussed at the institution level. We also were recognizing the fact that nominations for the next class of MNLI are now being received. So institution folks, please be sure that those get submitted. And I want to certainly thank Dr. Ayub for her continued leadership on this program. I've had the occasion now to see a couple of meetings take place, one down at Nichols, and then you had the full entourage present for the interviews on Lake Charles campus last week. And again, to see the leadership front and center is certainly motivating to those of us who sit here on these seats. So thank you very much, Caprice. And with that, I think I'm done. So is there any further business to come before the board at this time?
Mr. Chair, I think it'd be appropriate for Supervisor Willis to make the motion to adjourn.
All right. Well, but maybe we want to prolong this and we want to keep her, if she fails to do that, no, I think that would certainly be appropriate. Do you have a motion to provide to us, Supervisor Willis?
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
May I have a second?
I will second the motion.
Supervisor Stevens seconds the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, meeting is concluded. We will reconvene at 1 o'clock for the